Hey, welcome to Clarksville Vibe the show where we tell the stories about people here in Clarksville, Tennessee who make this place the greatest place to live in America. Today, I've got Megan Baggett. She is a friend of mine. She's a pioneer in our fashion space here in Clarksville, Tennessee. She is a boutique owner of the Copper Petal. I'm sure if you're female or if your wife is into fashion, you know all about it. She has created this brand and has really made something really, really cool here. So I'm excited to dig into more of her story, some of the challenges that she's had, some of the wins that she's celebrated with her and her team over the years. But we're really excited to hear more from her today. If you have a chance, go ahead, hit like, subscribe, get these episodes however you can. You're going to find a lot of great content from Megan today. We're going to get to hear her story, but you'll find lots of other stories just like hers throughout all of our other episodes back from the very, very beginning. So I know you want to peruse through those as well. And then hit subscribe so you get them every week, every other week when we release these. Just like Megan's today, you're going to find a lot of value in it. But other than that, Megan, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. We're taking you out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Absolutely, yes, 100%.
100%.
Very much.
Well, the easiest thing to do is tell your story, and you got a really successful story, something that I've gotten to witness. I'll give people just at least my story version of watching you, but from this little boutique booth in Miss Lucille's Cafe to little pop-up shops in a Stango store, or that is now, but there was once a downtown store. I mean, it really is something special and admirable and just really exciting to see someone our age that's created this and then grown it into what it's become now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a really fun journey.
Yeah. Did you ever think you'd get to the place where you are now, like full-time operation,
No.
multi-locations?
No, I thought for sure it would be like a small little thing that wouldn't really go anywhere. And I thought once I got into Miss Lucille's, I had like made it and that was going to be my ending point. I was only going to have a booth and now I have the 2 stores and it's crazy.
So when did you first come up with the idea of like, hey, I'm going to, get into clothing sales?
So I had a literal dream, and I
Okay.
called Luke the next day and he said, okay, you need to make, which is my husband, you need to make a business plan, you need to do all these things. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm probably not going to do that. And he's like, no, you have to. And I was like, okay. So then the same week I went and got my business license and I just went for it.
Got a business license and went for it,
Yeah,
huh?
it's crazy.
That is hilarious.
So I didn't ever think I would
What
be
year
in this
was
position.
that?
2016.
2016.
Yep.
Yeah. So good try, Luke.
Yeah.
That's not.
I'm
who
not
you
a planner.
married.
Yeah.
Not a planner. We're just going to wing it. We're going to go for it.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And so when you had the dream, you go get your business license, and then is it still a learning journey at that point? Like, how do I even do this, or like, how did you decide to kind of find your niche?
Trial and error.
Okay, yeah.
I was really kind of good at social media and stuff like that. So I think that's what really kind of pushed us through. So when I made the Instagram account, I didn't tell anyone it was me. And I just started posting on there and doing giveaways and stuff. And eventually when I did tell people, I think everyone was just shocked because they're like, you have no business being in this business. But I was a nanny at the time and it just kind of was just something I thought, well, I had the dream and I feel like that's God telling me to do it. So I'm just going to go for it and see what happens and learn along the way. So just a lot of trial and error.
I know we were talking a little bit in the episode, like the prep time, the total budget to start was $200 and it wasn't even yours.
No, it was my dad's money. I said, I'm not going to spend my own just in case. And I did pay him
What'd
back.
you do with that $200?
Bought a lot of jewelry and kind of
okay.
smaller items just to start, maybe 1 or 2 of a few shirts and just kind of started there.
Kind of came from there. So I know we're fast forwarding a little bit, but what do you remember a point early on where you feel like, oh, I kind of got into more than I thought here. I kind of this is taking off. My fear of even taking my dad's $200 for this, no, this was a good decision. Now this is something bigger than I've become. Bigger than I expected it to become.
Probably after the first few pop-ups. I feel like when it kind of really is when it kind of started taking off, people were talking about it a lot more and kind of growing our Instagram and everything. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I actually have to do this more and more and more. Because at first I was just doing a pop-up maybe once a month or something. And then it kind of turned into I was trying to do every weekend and I was renting little spaces to do pop-ups. And
so did you get the idea of pop-ups from other businesses like that, in other cities, or you were kind of one of the first ones to start doing pop-ups locally off-site at different places.
Luke was living in Nashville and going to Belmont at the time. So there was tons of stuff like that there. And I'm like, well, it's not really here, but I mean, why can't it be? You know,
Sure.
Why can't other people do it? But now I feel like it's everywhere. And we do
Yes.
that at our store now. We allow other businesses to come do pop-ups. So it's kind of
okay.
like full circle moment. But
Who were some of the people, like when you were doing your first pop-ups, that kind of caught the vision with you and said, yeah, come be a part of our space, or come, you know, kind of add value to their business, right?
Yeah.
And because I've noticed sometimes when there have been pop-up stores or food trucks or whatever, you go for the pop-up event, right? And you casually support the business that's hosting it.
Yeah, it's mutual both ways. My first ever one was at Studio Sharp. I didn't know Katie, but Luke did, and he said, hey, I'll reach out to her and just kind of see. And so that was my first one, and people were getting their hair done. And I've actually have probably like 3 customers that still shop with me like to this day that were getting their hair done just randomly. So it kind of worked out. And then I think my second one was at Yada, and I like maintained a relationship with them when they were like on the corner of Strawberry Alley, like back there.
Which is, now what's that place called?
Madeline's, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I actually rented like kind of down the hill from there. There's a hair salon, and I'm blanking on the name right now, but it used to be like a vacant building, and I used to rent it on the weekends with Allie from Thistle Sweets. And it was a vacant building, and we just literally would go in there and rent it from, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was like $100 for like a Saturday. And we would just sit in there and hope people came, and they did. So it was really cool.
And you're advertising these just social media organically.
Yeah, that's pretty much,
Wow.
Just Facebook, Instagram, and
yeah. A lot of trial and error in figuring out how to get your message out.
Yeah, definitely. I think giveaways and stuff like that really helped, and free stuff. People love free stuff. So
everybody loves free stuff.
That was just a really good opportunity, and just kind of like doing collaborations with all those other businesses as far as giveaways and stuff.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about, because I mean, that's 2016. We're 2024 now. You snap your fingers and you'll be right at a decade. And this has really been a journey for you. But I would assume at some point, like, you've probably started to develop a real set of values associated with what you do. You know, you're not just a seller of goods.
Right.
You're adding value to people's life in a real way. And how would you describe that? Like, where do you find your sense of purpose or mission in what you're doing? And when was that in the process of growing it to what it is now?
Probably more so when I got like our first storefront downtown Clarksville, just meeting people more and talking to them, kind of like gave me a little more insight of like who I was working with and like meeting, and getting like our first sets of employees there, like just really pouring into them. And that's trial and error, as you know. But I've been blessed with the employees that we have had. But Olivia Carter was one of my first employees, and that was trial and error, because I had never been responsible for. I was a nanny, but this is an adult, and like, how do I talk to her? How do I
pay you?
Yeah,
you know,
everything.
I don't even know how to. We can't Venmo anymore. You know?
Right. So it was just kind of Venmo. I don't even think Venmo was
probably
really
not a thing.
That's kind of like newer, but so learning how to like make those relationships and just kind of be a good leader in that sense, and like connect with people one-on-one in our stores and everything, which I'm not super outgoing, so that was a big thing for me. I've definitely come out of my shell, but so I don't know, just pouring into people is just like my biggest thing I try to do. And
well, I mean, it's part of the reason we do the show is naturally people always say the people are what makes Clarksville so special, and the connections are what gives you value. And it's cool to hear that you felt like that was a pivotal part in your journey as a small business owner, was connecting with people face to face in our local community. And I don't know if this is correct or not, but I feel like Luke told me in the past sometime that there was a big part of your business that's shipping goods. So it's not just Copper Petal local. People are finding you via Instagram, finding you via website, whatever that may be, shopping with you. And there's still an element of e-commerce sales to what Copper Petal is.
We have a chat feature and stuff, and just through Instagram, I feel like people talking to us on there, like a lot of people that live out of town, I feel like I know them too. And
oh, wow.
I'm like, how do I know you? How do you live in Kansas or like somewhere random?
Do you feel like you were one of the first locally owned retailers to really start to have a national influence?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could have really narrow focus.
Yeah.
But I feel like the presence of the internet, the development of the internet, specifically people our age, you know, millennials, younger millennials, maybe some Gen Zs, realizing how to capture such a national audience, realizing how the whole world is at your fingertips when you sell something, leveraging those resources. It does feel like a new aspect to a small business You might have a storefront. Now we need warehouse space because we're shipping so much stuff out. We've got to have more space than the booth at Miss Lucille's.
Yeah. And that was more Luke's vision. He was like, we need to grow like nationally and all that. And I was like, no, I'll be fine here. And then it just kind of went forward, and he always has good
Luke
ideas
the planner,
too.
right?
Yes. Luke the planner, me the not planner. Yes.
The not planner. That's so funny.
Not at all.
Well, I've had the fortune of knowing the Baggett family for a really long time. I've known Luke probably since he was in 3rd or 4th grade. Yeah. Fun fact. This is, I probably shouldn't even say this publicly. So when I was in college, they asked me to house sit. I think they were going on vacation or something, take care of their donkey and their animals or whatever. I have never been more scared in my life than sleeping in their house as a stranger, as like a 20-year-old stranger. I was like, I'm taking care of the donkeys. I grew up on a farm. Like I got all this stuff. And then it's like, you close that door into not your house, not really an adult, but kind of an adult. Yeah. I remember that. I was so terrified.
Yeah. I also house sit for them a long time ago. And yes, I felt the same way. So.
It was something else.
In the middle of the woods.
May not have been the house at all. Just may have been that season of life for me of like just starting to branch out and like do things for people. Of course, now here I am trying to find 20-year-olds to take care of our animals and stuff when we go out of town. Yeah. But their family has been a real blessing to me in many, many ways. And so watching your business grow has, it's been real special to me to be able to see that. I have some of my team members, of course. My team has a lot of young team members, a lot of young females, and Copper Petal has always been, a bright spot on their day. They'll tell me we're going to go look at lunch, or we're going to go do
right around the corner now.
Right around the corner now. So I've been really excited to see that too. One thing that you mentioned to me is you've got this kind of side branded business, and I'm not familiar with it, so chalk it up to guys who don't know what they're talking about. But permanent jewelry, like you called it Remain, right? So what is like? How did you find a need here in our local community for it, and then try to add value and actually make it something? Because I would assume people were maybe driving to get this product, the service, whatever it is, and then now you're saying, well, we can do this locally.
Yeah, exactly. We had a few pop-ups. There was a people in Nashville, and my employee, Meg, who's our manager, she kept saying, I want to do this. Like, we really need to do this. And I'm not a planner, I'm telling you. So I was like, okay, yeah, we'll do it. We know it keeps going down the road. And like a few months in, she's like, okay, Megan, if we're not going to do this together, I'm going to go do it. And I'm like, we'll do it together.
We'll do it.
So we just kind of like went for it. And then I have a friend named Jenny who lives in Nashville who owns a boutique there. And I had reached out to her and she said, yeah, I want to do it too. Like, it's a big thing, very popular. So she found someone to train us. So we all went in on a little training. And I think maybe a week or two later, we actually launched it and came up with it. Meg runs most of that.
Yes.
But and she's the one. I can do it, but I can barely even see it. Like, it's so small. But she does mainly that, and it's kind of just taken off as well.
Was there a level of what was the biggest hurdle to deciding how to do it? Adding something new on your plate, the fear of this may not work, like it's a big investment up front, or what's
kind of all of that.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
It is a big investment up front. And I didn't know if it was going to be a short-term thing. And I thought, well, I don't want to do all this, pour so much into it, and then it'd be done in a month. It's kind of like the timing, which we've been doing it for a little over a year now. And we have someone in Indiana that does it. We have 3 girls here that do it, and then at our Dixon store as well. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. So I want to talk a little bit about, because I feel like, you've got a really good handle. Your shop is fairly small still, still small-ish number of employees, but still have responsibility for people, small enough to where you're juggling every hat of this business. Like, you're marketing it, you're probably doing a lot of product acquisition, you're probably reconciling the books at the end of the month, you're adding new services and things like that. What is it like in a typical day for you? You're also a mom. You also have to try to live this normal life for, being a mom, and then you're also a small business owner. And I'm sure your attention is just dragged back and forth all the time, playing whack-a-mole here or there. Let's deal with this problem, deal with that problem. But what does a day look like? And what are some challenges that you feel like maybe some people might not understand of what a really small hyperlocal business like Copper Petal undergoes?
Well, I've been on maternity leave, so come back from that. So that's been not nice, but it's never like you're never actually gone. But luckily I do have great employees that are able to handle things. But just my son Cash when he was in school. I feel like I would go drop him off, and then I would turn around and then go to the store. And I would always have something to do before we opened. I can do a lot of things like from home on my computers. It's been nice while I've been out. But I don't know, I would go get coffee. I would go to the store. I would have to sit down before anyone got there, because if they're there, I'm going to get distracted and talk to them and do all the things. And I'm not a planner, so I would try to make a list for myself of that day. Probably not get everything done like I should have, but then you're out there talking to people, and you're kind of back and forth. You're looking at your phone for social media and all that, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, time to go get him, time to go do that. And I would try to take him up there, and that was just always fun, trying to take your kids to work with you when they're running around. But I don't know, just kind of bouncing back and forth. I feel like I'm always somewhere. Like I'm never just like sitting down at home, sitting on the couch. Yeah. I'm always up and down, up and down, up and down somewhere. But so kind of being a mom, it's hard, and you have employees call out and things, and then you're filling in and bringing your kid to work, your 3-year-old. So
I was talking to somebody who has a store downtown now, and it was on a Saturday, and she said, my employee just decided not to show up this morning to open the store and didn't tell me. Oh, and I had customers calling me to try and figure out why the store was not open. So I had to go figure that out. And then we were at some other event. But, sometimes I think there's a level of a business that it can grow to where there's enough team members to where those little things don't really fall through the cracks, because there's 8 to 10 to 20 employees, and it just kind of gets swallowed up. But when you're 5 or less, or you're 7 or less, or whatever your number is now, kind of, I would expect to be a little bit smaller. You do still have to be the fill-in role. My kid's sick, I got to go cover the store for today. Yeah. Didn't expect that. Even us scheduling this, you were very gracious to, ask your babysitter to stay an hour longer. And it's just like you're managing all of this stuff, and never really, I would assume, able to focus and think, okay, what does Copper Petal look like in 5 years? Yeah. Where do we want to drive it? No, it's just day to day, putting out fires, playing whack-a-mole with whatever, problem is in front of you.
They laugh at me because they're like, okay, you have a babysitter, but you're still like taking care of, I have 2 children, so you're taking care of one and she's taking care of the other. I'm like, that's how it works. It's like, it's never like,
I can't afford 2 babysitters.
Right. Probably need 2 babysitters, but with my youngest Wake being a baby, it's like harder to leave him as much, and just kind of balance both and everything. So
do you remember a time where you like felt like something was maybe more successful than you expected it to be? Like whether that was like, hey, we're going to introduce this kind of new fashion style and, unsure about how it's going to go, or maybe even on the other side, like sometimes I feel like business owners really get help when they hear people like, hey, I tried this and this was a really bad idea.
Yeah, no, just certain styles and things I feel like we brought in, there have been stuff that sits there and we're like, well, we thought that was, Nashville vibe and these things that people want. And then, or things you see like viral online that you bring into your store and everyone in Clarksville's like, we don't want that,
Really?
No way, but people online might buy it. Are really moving to the Sango store, branch our business just like a ton more than I expected. Yeah. I think having a parking lot and everything, and just in and out easier, and I don't know, just being on the side of town where there's lots of houses and things. But I don't know. Yeah.
Do you have a lot of people who, pop in for the first time and have never been there? Or do you feel like you have more like a loyal base of people?
Well, we definitely have loyal shoppers that come in sometimes multiple times a week. Who knows?
Really?
Or every week at least when we release new things.
Sounds like my mom.
I did see your mom a lot. But I think people just driving by and they'll say, oh, I've seen the sign, or I've seen it online or something, and I've never stopped in. And then they're pleasantly surprised when they come in. So that's always nice.
There anything that you miss about the downtown store owner feel, like specifically?
I miss all the other shop owners down there, because everyone down there is really great, especially kind of like the original crew that was there when I was there. Mm-hmm. Like, it was really fun. Which a lot of them are still there, but kind of like Jody, like she's kind of changed directions and things, just kind of the there have been a lot of little places that have gone in next to us where there was Rue and Mickey's and all that, and that's kind of changed a lot. And so I don't know, just kind of, it's changed a lot down there, but in a good way. But I miss a good way.
I mean, I think it's just a continued development. We had an episode with Jody a couple episodes ago, actually, and she said something really profound. She said, we're kind of a part of the story for the season that we're in. Mm-hmm. And, even if something doesn't work out long term, we're thankful for the contributions of people that put in some energy, and that would include yourself, and was really a cool store downtown for a season. And then now that transitioned to something else, and somebody else is bringing in value downtown. And we get down there twice a month to try to intentionally spend some energy down there and time down there. And we're always just really enjoy it.
Yeah.
We have a great time downtown.
It's grown a lot. It's been really
but
great.
I also know how nice it is to stay out in our local area. And it's, just, I was telling Adonia the other day, I probably save 5 or 10 hours a week by not really having to get out of our immediate geographic zone, because we just don't have to deal with the traffic.
Yeah, I know. We live over here too, so it's like I can get to work in less than 5 minutes, and that's nice.
We probably shouldn't say that publicly, because everyone else who's tackling the Wilma Rudolph and the Trenton Road and the tiny town, they're jealous.
Just strategically plan that to go to that side of town.
Yeah. Well, something that you mentioned to me that I feel like is really profound is you've really started to develop a conscious effort towards teaching your team. This is not a sales. Everything is not sales. This is really about an experience. So what are some ways you feel like you've tried to make that a every time feel? Because let's say for Rhonda Kennedy, she's over on this side of town, she pops in. How do you make her feel something every time she comes in? Something new, right?
Having a new product and everything, but just making sure that our employees are staying on top of it and asking if she needs help, starting her dressing room. Maybe now, since she comes in a lot, we kind of know her style and can pick things out for her and look up on our sales history of what she's bought before, maybe to kind of help through that as well. And just making sure that everyone, I always tell them, I would rather someone come in and have a good experience than sell them a shirt. I want someone to come in and feel good about themselves and that they had a good experience and leave and maybe tell their friend or come back, or versus come in and think, oh man, they were just trying to sell me a shirt and I didn't even want to buy the shirt. You know, I can't stand that feeling when I go in and I feel so pressured to buy something, and just, I'm never be over the top. Obviously we're in the business to sell things, but at the end of the day, for me, I would rather it be more of just a pleasant experience. And
well, you hear that, and I was listening to a podcast episode of someone who runs an online beauty supply, doing makeup and stuff like that. And to me, granted, I'm a guy, so a big black fog, I don't understand it at all. But that's one of the things that she said, and she'd grown it to $1 billion. I mean, crazy big international appeal, right? But she said it is not so much the product. And I didn't understand how that could even be the case, because to me, when you're selling things on the internet, it's very much about the product. But when she says it's still an experience to buy things online, to how does the website make you feel? How does the transaction, what's the friction going all the way to the point of the sale? And I thought, oh, well, that actually is right, because there are lots of times where I'll click on a website via an ad or something like that, and it doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. I'm I don't know if I can trust it. I'm not ready to buy yet. And so creating an experience, even just in the online space, is really critical.
I think social media really helps with that, kind of showing outfits, and they see the real people behind the brand, and they see our models, so they're seeing consistently because they know the people. And
well, I think that's really cool too, because I have been able to be in our community for a while. I've watched a lot of kids grow up. I think I've been here 12 or 13 years now. So a lot of our 20 to 22 year olds in town, I've been able to watch them grow up and be their dentist. It's been really, really fun. But I see familiar faces, I was looking at your website prepping for this, and, sometimes I'll just kind of get ideas even from you, seeing how you're connecting to people, and I see familiar faces. Yeah. So is that an intentional thing that you feel like is a part of your experience of hey, not only are we physically located in this community, we're highlighting people to see exactly what your friend would look like wearing it. This person. She grew up here, or whatever it may be.
And you're seeing the same employees and seeing them put stuff on as well, on our stories and stuff. And you kind of know, them, their style, I never tell them specifically something to put on. It's them styling it themselves.
Really?
So it's not,
I think that's kind of a key nugget, because that makes it personalized to them.
Yeah. You might come in, every once in a while and kind of know.
So you really do qualify as a chill
I'm very
employer, right?
I am, yeah. So I like to say that.
I know several people who are not, and I think if they were to organize a photo shoot for their products, it would be, no, you're in this color, that. I
want them to feel comfortable. I don't want them to come in and put something on and then just be stiff and just sitting there. I want them to feel comfortable and put their own style to it, because I think that helps as well, trying to pick out an outfit and whatnot.
Yeah, makes people feel connected to. I guess. You kind of mentioned you're really proud of your Black Friday event that you do every year. That the one thing you do plan for, that goes outside of your box months in advance. Tell me a little bit about that, because I don't know anything about it. Okay. So usually Black Friday is we are spending Thanksgiving dinner with my family in Knoxville. So I don't ever get to be around Black Friday, Small Business Saturday here. Like we're with my wife's family in Knoxville. So I've missed that. What is that about?
So typically it's, bigger like box stores that do stuff like that. And when we were at our downtown store, it was maybe like 2019 when we started doing it, I think maybe. And right before COVID. So the very first one we did, our downtown store was pretty small. So it was a lot. Like we didn't expect a good turnout, but we just had lots of good deals. It wasn't stuff that we had in our store. It was all like $20 or less. So people came. Okay. I mean, boutique clothes, that's a good deal. And we'd have like a huge line down the sidewalk the first time. And we were like, ooh, we should not have this many people in this little tiny building. This is probably not good. And the following year with COVID, we were like, okay, we really can't stick that many people in a tiny room. So I had talked to Marcia because the Ruby Cora, because that's where we got married. Said, hey, can I rent your space for this event? And she said, yeah, sure. I'm not having any other events on Thanksgiving night. Sure. And all my employees were like, yeah, we really want to do it. And I mean, just have hundreds and hundreds, and we wore masks and stuff during the COVID, but now we do not. It's it's a huge event. We have different vendors, like 5 or 6 vendors. We have food trucks, all the things, and I mean, like lions wrapped around the building and tons of people. It's just become like an annual event that's like really fun, and I love it. I always go in the bathroom and like cry because it's like so overwhelming seeing all the people, and they're like standing outside like chanting and stuff to get in, and it's like I mean, it reminds me of like being outside the mall and like way back when I was younger, standing with my mom waiting for something like that. But for a small business, it's like, gosh, that's our biggest day of the year. It's great.
And it's very, very unique.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I know if anyone else off the top of my head that's like doing something special. Now, they may be open and they may have some deals because they feel like they got to have deals to compete with the feeling of the time. But I don't know anybody that's doing something that cool.
No, it's really fun. And my friend Kayla stands outside and entertains the crowd, and it's always fun.
What do you mean by that?
Like she dances and sings and plays games and all kinds of stuff.
I should probably like follow your account more so I can see some of the stuff. Like,
I'll tag you around.
Yeah, that's funny. That's really cool. I mean, because I feel like it takes courage because now your expenses for that day are big. Yeah. And I'm just looking at it from a small business owner's perspective. It's like, well, we're already paying for our space that we normally have. Why would we now on one day of the year hoping to get more people out here? It may come, may not. And I feel like sometimes that's what people miss in the flesh and blood of small business ownership is that we're still really normal people. And we're probably the last people to believe in ourselves, that something like this could work. And then when it does work, like you said, you've just got so much emotion into it. Like, I can't believe people care. I can't believe people
we rent U-Hauls, we take all the stuff. We have these 2 girls, Caitlin and Jasmine, and for the last like 3 years, they bring their Thanksgiving plates and they come and they sit and they're the first people there. And they sit outside like at 3 o'clock and it opens at 9. And they watch movies and they eat their Thanksgiving meal. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just
but the fact that you know their name, they're a part of your story. Like they've connected to you. And I don't know. I've never been really like a Thanksgiving Thursday, Black Friday shopper necessarily, but I don't know that people are connecting with Best Buy, and I don't think that they're connecting with Walmart employees. It's just not the same feel. And so when people say shop small business, I think that's a really cool example of what you mean by that. I also think that the average person probably doesn't understand the impact that you can make in the community by keeping dollars local. So what would you say to that? If somebody says, okay, but I can get that same shirt or something that looks like it somewhere else, what are they missing when they're not shopping at a place like Copper Petal?
Supporting our employees, other businesses. I mean, all my employees, like every time we have a pop-up, they all buy something, from another business. Luke and I, we eat local 24/7. I'm not a very good cook, so we eat out a lot. And you
gotta make Luke
get coffee local. We do all the things. So really just, I feel like we're big proponents of supporting local just in general. Finding a local dentist, finding these people versus like a big store. I mean, it just gives us the ability to do that, our employees the ability to do that as well. And kind of keep all that.
And to me, what often gets missed is all of the dollars that end up staying local, like, I don't know who your CPA is and I don't know who your attorney is, but odds are you've probably chosen someone that's in our community. And so the dollars that even don't go directly to the product, that go to operating the business, to file the taxes, the property tax dollars that you're paying for it, like the spaces here, like it really does keep more money in the community. And the more money that goes into the community goes to more of our nonprofits. It makes our schools better. It makes all of these things better. When it is puff in a cloud on the internet, gone away, that money is gone and it's not coming back. And it's not really making our community better, attracting new people here. Even when you're able to, even the space that you're in now, which is, kind of that strip style center, like it's those dollars that even pay the rent still stay around.
Absolutely.
It's really, really helpful. And I think, sometimes people just don't quite grasp it,
And I get it. It's easy to jump on Amazon and all those different sites and think you're getting like the same product and same everything, but it's not.
It's not. Yeah. Not
it may look the same, or they may have taken a picture. We've had pictures stolen for Amazon links and things.
Really?
And
like take crazy. Your picture
and put it on. Yeah. They like cut the face out. You can tell it's ours because we use like a photographer with very like local photographer.
Yes.
A very specific like branding look, and you'll see it on Amazon. Maybe the shirt I'm wearing, and they cut our face out, and it's clearly in front of our building, and we're like, well, you're not buying the same shirt, but you may think you are, but
because you can't get that shirt.
Yeah, and it may be $10 cheaper or something, but
Well, I appreciate you spending time with us today. It's been really fun to kind of hear more of your story. One thing I wanted to make sure we hit, Copper Petal. Where'd you get the name?
My mom came up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love flowers, and my dog's name was Cooper. So she was like, I'm just going to put it to them. We were just writing down words, and we kind of put it together. And then I was like, I'll just change it later because I had to get the business license, so quick. And you had to have a name. So I was like, I'll just change it. And I never did. So
that is hilarious.
I'll
change it later.
Yeah. It's like we can always change it.
Of not a planner. Like I'll change it later.
Yeah.
And here you are, 8 years later, and it is still the name.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something else I wanted to revisit. Local coffee. Do you have a favorite spot?
Plumline and the Amsterdam local. Okay. So good.
Nice. Do you feel a difference between the two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still like both of them equally.
Yeah, we just need one
hard
on
to pick.
Sango.
Yeah, no, we definitely need.
Maybe a builder, build a spot, and find somebody to come out
Probably
here.
Find someone maybe.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Well, I would patronize it if they do.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, hey, thanks so much for your time. This has been real fun getting to hear more of your story. If you're listening and you have a spouse, you have a girlfriend, have a daughter, or you are one of those, you got to go check out Copper Petal way out on Madison Street out in the Sango area. Do you still call it Madison Street out there, or is it 41A?
I call it 41A.
41A, yeah, fair enough. But you'll find friendly faces, a great shopping experience. You'll be able to keep your money local. I think you'll find a lot of value in that. Go check them out, or just get on Instagram, find them that way, follow them up, get your experience there. So that works. Megan, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. If you've made it to the end of this episode, you're a valued part of our online community where we get to tell stories of people like Megan Baggett, families like the Baggett family, or her husband Luke doing great things in our community. We just get to tell their stories of what makes Clarksville the greatest place to live, with people like them making up every facet of our community in different ways. Go back, check some old episodes out. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get new ones when they come out every other Friday. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thanks.